Hey, cool cats and kittens, it's Cal Cat.
Oh, you're gonna get sued right off the rip.
Think she'll Carol Baskins will sue me?
I think she will. She'll use some of that big cat money and sue you.
Okay, did you watch any of it so far?
I've watched the whole thing through twice.
Why twice?
Well, because I watched it. Here's the deal: I watched it before everybody else did, and so I watched it, and then nobody else had really watched it, and then everybody else started like in the next like 2 weeks or a week or so, and then I felt like I was left behind by jokes because I feel like I didn't. You know what I mean?
I can't hear you because I had to take off my headphones. I didn't hear anything you said. In my mind, I was going to be able to do this. I can't hear you at all. So let me switch my headphones out real quick.
All right.
I want to hear all about what you did and when you did it. So,
No, I could
so
definitely.
you watched it before everybody else.
Yeah, so I watched it before everybody else. I think I could explain it better than what you missed. So
Okay.
the day it came out, I like immediately it was something new, so I binge watched like all the episodes. I hadn't heard anything from anyone, watched them all, thought, "Man, this is kind of goofy." Kind of laughed at some stuff. I was like, "Wow, this guy's really redneck." And then life went on. And then all of a sudden like a week later, all the memes start coming out. Everyone starts talking about it.
Mhm.
So then I didn't quite remember like stuff that people were talking about. So then I went back and like watched it again.
You were like the guy on the outside just looking like with like this shit-eating grin on his face. Like, I think this is funny too, but I'm not exactly sure what's funny about it.
Yeah. Like I was the person at like the high school party that missed everything that people were talking about the following Monday.
Yeah. So
I was like, wait a sec, I was there, but I don't remember that.
yeah, we ended up watching it. I kind of went back and forth. My friend Adam Graham, who's the film critic from the Detroit News, I had asked him online. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right? Or have you ever heard of
Where does he work?
Workers of the Detroit News? He's the film critic over there. Anyways,
Oh yeah.
I had asked him on Twitter. I'm like, hey, dude, like, is this appropriate for my kids? Like, is this something that my kids can watch? He's like, absolutely, no problem.
What?
Yeah, he
Well, hey,
grossly misunderstood what my children are into.
But let's put a little stipulation on this, though, that you were going to let your kid watch Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society. So
Okay.
in that context, yes, absolutely he could watch this show.
For the record, you said let, as in I was gonna let. No, I did let my kid watch Boys in the Hood.
So yeah, anything he can watch Basic Instinct. He can watch Showgirls by those parenting the
Spring
parenting
Breakers.
Yeah,
Spring Breakers.
exactly. By that parenting bar that you've set, yeah, Tiger King is no big deal for him.
Okay, so we watched Tiger King, and we did have to fast forward through a couple of things in it. Obviously, like I kind of got the vibe. To put things into perspective, though, also Adam Graham, my friend, who's a film critic from the Detroit News, his mother, instead of calling him Joe Exotic, calls him Exotic Joe, and for some reason that takes on a different connotation. Like I don't know why, but like if your name was Joe Exotic, I'd be like, oh, I wonder what his deal's all about. But then when you call him Exotic Joe, I think it sort of takes on a new meaning.
Yeah, it puts a bunch of hype, a bunch of expectation on that person to begin with. Even if I never saw the show, if I hear, "Hey, you want to watch this show about Exotic Joe?" immediately I'm gonna think this guy's out of his mind.
Yeah,
like this guy is exotic. He is out there, and he probably wears kimonos.
Yeah.
Around the house, things of that nature. But when you say, hey, this show is about Joe Exotic, I don't know if that's a dude's real last name. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know that by the end of that show he knows his real last name because he changes it quite a bit. Now, okay, so let's talk about this show.
I do like how he takes the name of every man that he marries. I do like how he has like 4 last names.
Yeah, because at one point he introduces himself as Travis's last name, and we won't here's the thing. I'm gonna do my best not to spoil it for you, but dude, we've been on lockdown as a group, as a society for 3 to 4 weeks at this point.
That's just it.
Yeah, you guys should have seen this by now, and if you haven't, shame on you, and it won't ruin it because me telling you that he takes this guy's last name doesn't ruin anything because of the fact that there is so much more to this story.
It's like me telling you about a beautiful sunset. I can tell you about a beautiful sunset, but you won't actually know what that beautiful sunset looks like until you experience it. So if we talk about this it's just gonna enhance your watching pleasure.
Right. Okay. So, favorite character on the show, go.
Favorite character on the show, I would say is man.
You want me to start? Because I have mine already picked.
You go ahead.
We did no pre-promotion. Philip Seymour Hoffman is my favorite character on the show. The guy that rides in on the elephant. I think his name's like Doc Andrews or something.
Oh, yeah.
Doc something. He's got 4 or 5 wives himself, and all of the women, they live there and work there 12 hours a day for $100 a week.
Yeah.
And just do what he says. And
Yeah.
it's really, really weird to me that they just do what he says.
Yeah.
But he's my favorite.
Go ahead. No, finish.
He's just my favorite because he's just a fat pig who is super into probably Dungeons and Dragons as well as a sword collection that he has. He likes exotic animals, finds a way to make money off of it all. And those women were kind of good looking. Like, I'm sorry to say, but the women, like the 4 women that he married to.
Probably 15, 20 years ago, they were probably spot on.
They lost a bit off their curveball, but they still might make it into the Hall of Fame. Kind of like Justin Verlander. Like Verlander might make it into the Hall of Fame.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's my favorite character on the show. And then the dude who wears the Oakley, the guy with Lauren, who they come in and they save the park. I can't think of what his name is. John Lane or something.
Yes.
Who's the guy?
I know who you talk. The guy who just like looks like average Joe landscaper. He looks like the guy who'd be cutting your lawn, but he's the guy who's riding the lawnmower.
Right, exactly.
Like, he's not a weed whipper. He's not the blower guy. He looks like he owns, he's the head guy of a landscaping company.
So he rolls in there, and every time we see it, my son says the same thing to me. He's like, "You want to bet Oakley's asked him not to wear that hat?" Like, because he's got like the bandana because he's bald. He's, from Vegas. He has that whole Vegas vibe. He's got the jeans with the white stitching. He's just a total dirt ass, and he comes in to save the day from Exotic Joe and his zoo. Okay, so who's your favorite on the show?
I would have to go. I do like your representation and your description of that dude, Philip Seymour Hoffman guy, because he was like the Simpsons comic book guy with the
great analogy.
Like he's that, but instead of comics, it's animals. Is like that guy's personality, which is so weird and bizarre. I like the guy whose famous line was, "I don't care how many, F-bomb wives he has." The like long hair guy who works for Joe Exotic with the shades.
He's the general.
He's the guy who has his legs, right?
Yeah, I think
he has his legs.
Is there more than one person who doesn't have legs, or is that the same person they keep showing?
The same person. So there's one person who doesn't have legs, the one lady who doesn't have her arm, who looks like a dude.
Yeah.
And the other guy who's just like, "Man, I'm just here for like the free Walmart meat," and like the long hair, kind of Farrah Fawcett feathered,
right?
That guy is. I like him because I feel like he's what we would be. Like, if we got to the point in our lives where we're like, it's either call it quits. Like, you're either hanging from the end of a rope or you're working for Joe Exotic.
Right. Feeding. And you breezed over this for a second, but feeding these animals expired meat from Walmart that you've already picked over so that you could have expired meat from Walmart. But go ahead.
Yeah. But that guy, like, he seems like the guy who's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm here in my life. There's nothing I can do about it. This is the grave that I've dug. This is the bed that I've made. I'm here." But it's almost like he doesn't buy into it. He's just there for the paycheck and the free rent. You know what I mean? Just to live in the cockroach-infested trailer that he's provided. And he's just kind of like, "Hey, man, this is what I do, and this is where I live." But it doesn't seem like he's bought into everything. He could flip on someone in a second. If someone was like, he would automatically have somebody else's back over Joe Exotic.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Joe Exotic is the only person that would give that guy a job. And let's be clear, those of you who have not seen Joe Exotic, imagine Randy Travis, the singer, but 130 pounds, gay, wearing jeans with a knee brace over the jeans.
So what am I thinking different of with Randy Travis?
Not Randy Travis. What's the other guy? Not Randy Travis. Randy Travis is the one that looks like that pastor I used to have in college. Pastor Bob. No, who not Randy? Who's the singer with the long Alan Jackson?
Alan Jackson, yes.
Yeah, that's who he looks like.
But again, what you described is Alan Jackson, so I'm still trying to figure out what the difference is.
Right. Okay. What's your opinion?
You're like, imagine Alan Jackson, but with, and everything that you said is still Alan Jackson.
Yes. Hey, I want to take a quick stop here for a second on episode 122 to say thank you to everybody who's been subscribing to the YouTube channel. I forgot to tell you, Joe, where you can see the comments. A lot of really nice comments. People really enjoy seeing the interaction of what we look like when we do this.
Oh,
so
really?
I just want to tell you that people are like, I like it better seeing you guys than just listening. And some people, some people have emailed me and said that they listen to it. And then they go back to see, like one person said, I went back to a certain part, I don't even remember what it was, to watch your face because you clearly were trying to give him some sort of sign. I was trying to tell you something with my face. And then they were like, and when I saw it, I just lost it. So people are really, remember, you can watch this on YouTube. We are recording all of these for through Skype, and you can watch them. Okay. So Carol Baskins, let's talk about her because she's the reason the coronavirus exists, right? Okay. She did it. Carol Baskins. Do you think she allegedly may have committed a crime and killed her husband?
Yes, I do. It just seems like there's just too many holes in her story. The fact that like the sheriff's office now in like 2020 is like, you know what, maybe we should reopen that. You know, like there's a lot to it where I almost feel like even though they spent a lot of time on it, they didn't spend a lot of good investigative time as far as the documentary goes into that. Like, it was just kind of like the same thing over and over. Like, she killed him. But, like, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, you know? And, like, let's get into it. And I don't feel like they actually did that. We kind of heard a story and then everybody else's opinions. But the documentary, you know, it lacks the in-depth police end of it that like a normal murder mystery documentary would have.
Well, you figure Making a Murderer, and you saw that one, right? Making a Murderer. Yeah. So Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Jenkins. No, that's the guy from
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. We go back to him. We do that whole bit again. I forget what Stephen Avery. So he, you know, allegedly, or I guess he was convicted, so he did do a crime and killed that girl. They did 7 or 8 parts of an hour, 7 or 8 hours worth of miniseries about that murder. This one, they did more talking about, or talking to the dude with the nipple piercings, no teeth.
Isn't his name? Was it his name? John. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the. Hey, let's be clear on Joe Exotic's. All of Joe Exotic's husbands, none of them were gay. Which just, yeah.
Except the last one.
Oh,
Pastor.
Yeah.
Pastor. Pastor. This is like his last name or something.
Let's be clear, though. Drugs are bad because if you're going to do something like get engaged and married and do threesomes with Joe Exotic for drugs.
Oh.
Yeah, drugs are bad. Like, they were like, the one guy was like, what about gay?
Yeah. I know.
Oh, excuse me. Again? You were.
What about?
No,
what
bro.
About...
You are, dude. Like, that's not how it works. You don't get to decide after the fact. It's like that old joke, right? It's like that old joke I heard once where it says, you build one bridge, it doesn't make you a bridge builder. But if you have sex with a man, you know, come on. You get to decide what that means, right? You don't get to later be like, but I wasn't gay. Like, you sure about that?
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, no, you sort of are. Yeah, especially when you were married to him. Did you hear the part about the fact that none of that singing on the show is him?
Yes. Yeah, that kind of blew my mind too.
He had a pretty decent voice. Who is the person behind it? Is it Alan Jackson?
It may be. What I thought was amazing was the clip when you were talking about the drugs are bad. The clip where it showed him, it's in episode like 1, where it's the clip where it's Joe Exotic like at a day camp, or it almost looks like on stage at a church, like talking to
doing
children.
Magic?
Yeah. And then he like told kids, he's like, kids, you got to stay away from drugs because they make you ugly and your teeth fall out.
Cut to this dude, beep, beep, 2 nipple piercings and no teeth. Like, here's what I don't understand about the
And
the other
tattoos that look like you put the quarter in the machine and then the tat came out that was like some sort of like tribal pattern.
Yeah.
Like that's all that guy's tattoos were.
Yeah, and don't forget he had property of Joe Exotic over his wiener.
But he's not gay.
He's like, funny thing is, all throughout high school, I only hooked up with women. And you're like, yeah, that is funny. But what's funnier is that you were married to Joe Exotic. Like, that's funnier, dude. The funny part of that story is the part you haven't said yet, that you dated women, and then you dated Joe Exotic, married him, lost all your teeth, and then got a tattoo above your crotch that says property of Joe Exotic, then later got it covered up with a bull. Did you notice that? Well, you got like the bull with the horns, and he's like, it's amazing. And you're like, dude, what is going on in the world? So I read today, though, that there's going to be one more episode, dude. One more episode's coming out this week.
Like, where are they now?
I don't know what it is, but apparently what I saw today, like seriously, 15 minutes before I came on here, is that Joe Exotic has said that Netflix is like is scrambling. Like, you know, like it's like the Angry Birds people when they realize people liked it. They're like, let's scramble and make a movie, you know, and then like, oh, but it'll take 2 years. People are like, oh, they'll still be into it. Don't worry. 2 years later, everyone will still go to see the Angry Birds movie. Anyways, but with this one, apparently it's like lost footage and they're just trying to piece something together to get more ratings. I mean, it's still the #1 show on Netflix.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't know how long the camera crew was with them, but I mean,
forever. It seems to be forever.
If that was over 5 years of all that stuff happening, you know, there's got to just be tons of amazing footage left. Another thing, if those of you that are sitting home and bored and, you know, listening to us for entertainment, look up David Spade. David Spade has a video podcast, and he jumped on this thing quick. And David Spade this week has had John on his show.
The guy with the no teeth?
Yeah, he had him on, what's today? Today we're recording, it's Sunday. On Wednesday.
Sunday.
Yeah, Wednesday he had John on there. And then yesterday he had, or 2 days ago, he had like the guy with no legs. So like David Spade is like
Ricketts or something. Ricky
yeah.
Or Ricketts.
So David Spade is finding all these guys and doing like video podcasts with them.
Oh, now I want to check it out. Does he have any discussion with, and people can't see me right now, but Joe, you have to watch this. I'll tell you what, right now, I have the most amazing voice. I spent 3 years with him and he ripped me off. I had a nervous breakdown. The guy caught the like reporter dude. He drank coffee, smoked cigarettes, and his teeth are just all nasty. He was on like hard copy and then decided to do a documentary about Joe, only for Joe to burn down his alligator cage, which is also where he kept all his stuff. Right? We all agree he probably burned it down himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. What I don't get is the untold story of how do you go from being a director for a hard copy to just walking away and becoming this weird guy in Oklahoma who owns a zoo, the director of his like social media.
Yeah.
Like something was going on with that guy that I'd like to see a documentary about.
Oh, so much going on with him. He's like, I took my dog and I left. And you're like, but who was funding all this? Like, that's the other thing that's just so weird. Like, there's just so many questions for me right now. Like, and we like shut it off at the end of the final episode. And like, there was at least 35 to 40 seconds of just silence where we all were like, what did we just watch?
Yeah.
Like, I have more questions.
The whole time I sit there thinking, where is all this money come from?
Right.
Like,
someone had to be paying for this.
Yeah. Like somebody can't like, where did Joe get his startup money to like his zoo? It's like nice. Like those, I had to pay for a fence around my house and that wasn't cheap. And that was a normal black vinyl fence.
Yeah.
That ain't cheap. This
But
guy's
I think
got
he's using like
12-foot
meth
high
labor, though. He's using meth labor.
Oh, true. But then you got to buy the meth. I mean, it's going to cost you somewhere. I mean, you might be able to cut corners.
Yeah.
But his place is fantastic. Like the acreage, like how much was that to buy? then to put all this stuff up. The other thing that's weird is if you want to buy a full-grown tiger for $2,000, my English bulldog is like $2,800.
That's my point. I was just going to say, someone put that out there the other day and was like, wait a second, are we all getting ripped off for dogs? Your bulldog was $2,800. My golden retriever was $1,600 for a golden retriever. And you're telling me I could buy a tiger for $2,000?
Yeah.
I'm in, bro.
Now,
yeah, they'll probably turn on me.
Just in case there's people, because I noticed what I just said, just in case there's people on here that go and do the digging and pull up whatever records they can. My bulldog I got from Detroit Bulldog Rescue for $500, but where he came from,
what's a Dagon?
What's that?
What did you say? People are going to do the Dagon. What's that? It sounds like some sort of like cult. Oh, digging. I thought you said, I don't want anyone to do the Dagon. I'm like, what is that? Like some sort of like ritual?
No, if someone does the digging,
the Dagon on my dog.
My Instagram and does like fact checking. My dog cost me $500, but the breeder where my bulldog came from is $2,800. So let me just clarify that. In today's cancel culture,
his name was Exotic Chad. We bought it from him. Exotic Chad is his name.
I heard someone on the radio talking about back in the day in the 80s, Exotic Joe would be at the Gibraltar Trade Center with his tiger cubs, and you could go and pay money, pet the cubs, and then get a Polaroid. And this dude that was on the radio says that his mom pulled out from his baby book a picture of him with Exotic Joe and some tigers.
I would love to know who it is who said that, but they probably don't have a job in radio right now because this week, like 60 dudes got laid off. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's bad. And I don't mean to like switch the subject, but yeah. Let's just say I've sent this exact tweet or like text to people. Hey, man, it happens to the best of us. Good luck with everything. Don't let it define you. To 5 people that I know that lost their jobs. Like 97-1 is like cutting jobs because there's nothing for them to do. There's no sports for them to talk about. Screaming Scott from the Riff lost his job after 28 years of working there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, like it's funny, like it's not funny in a good way, but like a lot of people are losing their jobs just because, like, again, no one's advertising. Okay, let's start from the beginning. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to give you guys a whole radio lesson here, but like, if people aren't going to work, people aren't listening to the radio because I'm sorry to say, I understand that it was like radio this. No, if you're not in your car, like I'm not putting on a radio in my house. Like I'm not like, let me put on the Jay Towers morning show tomorrow while I sleep.
Right.
Like I don't go to work.
Streaming or you're doing podcasts.
Right. Yeah. So that's the first thing. So then if no one's listening, no one's advertising, and no one's advertising because they don't have any money because half the places we go to are shut down right now. So they don't have any money. So then eventually they've got to like, cut the bottom line. And so like they're like slashing jobs. It's horrible. But yeah, like dudes that like Ryan Woolley, a guy that I know, do you know him from 97.1? He just lost his job the other day after 14 years of working there.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, like I just saw on Twitter. I just sent him a note and he didn't write back.
Cow. No, I didn't know that.
The podcast.
Hey, but instead of being so deep right now,
yeah,
let's break it up with this.
Let the juniors out! He lifted up his shirt, by the way. Watch it on YouTube.
You can see my bare chest on YouTube.